And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, I'm excited this week. I'm
Well,
very excited this week.
because it's your topic.
It is my topic, but that's not why. Honestly, out of all of the topics we've done, I don't know what it is about this one that I have been more excited coming up with ideas for it. I think I'm going to be talking about quite a few games that I've never talked about before, just because they so well fit this really weird question that we've came up with. I haven't read all the comments either for on our Facebook group either. I'm curious to see what everybody else is going to say. I have a couple that I think are going to be kind of outliers that are obvious throughout the rest of them, but I'm really curious to see where this is going to go.
You and me both. It's an interesting topic. For those that don't know, the topic for today's discussion topic is what are the best or worst universes to live in board gaming?
Right. So what we're saying, let's think of an example that we probably neither of us have picked.
Wait, you're talking about the one we're currently living through right now?
Right. Well, I mean, we'll talk about that, but like let's say something simple like I'm trying to think of one that I don't think would be polarizing whatsoever.
Well, your example just went off the rails.
Yeah, it did. Le Havre. Okay, Le Havre. No one probably said like Le Havre is the best or worst to live in. But what we're thinking is like if this was an actual real place, a real time frame, and you could be a person in that world, what would be the best? What would be the ones you choose or definitely avoid? So this example, it's going to be really weird. I haven't a clue what I think you picked. I might be able to take some guesses.
Oh, mine's real easy, honestly.
Yeah,
I went with the obvious answers because I just like the obvious games.
Right. I did do some restrictions for myself though, and I think you probably did the same. I didn't choose any IP.
I chose IPs.
You chose IPs, okay, and that's fine. I mean, I didn't clarify. I just personally did like that seems too on the nose for me. It's like, oh man, I would love to live in this video game or this book or this world that's already established that I already know a lot about. Like I get it, but at the same time, I wanted it specifically board game universes. So I personally didn't pick any IPs.
I picked, I guess 2 IPs. I guess you can say.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me check my list real quick. See what we got here. So my worst to live in. There's 2 IPs in there. The rest of the games are fine.
They're IP freely.
They're IP freely. Yep.
So which list was easier for you to make?
Worst.
Worst? Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure you and me just went, and there's our 4 for the worst. Now let's think about this for the best.
Yeah, and for me, it was real simple, just because of the fact that most board games, you're trying to solve a puzzle in somewhere that's not really a good place to be solving puzzles, especially with me, where I play thematic games. Case in point, one of the games that could have been on my list, it was on my short list, was Twilight Imperium. I wouldn't want to live in that world
No.
because it's a bunch of warring races going after it. So I'm like, I wouldn't want to live there, but it made my short list. It didn't go on here. It probably would have been my 5th worst game, because the 4 above it, don't want to live anywhere near those worlds.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the 4 that I picked, you might be able to guess. I think you'll be able to guess my top 3. I don't think you'll guess my number 4, but I'll give you some clues. We'll play the guessing game. We'll have fun with it. But I'm also curious to see what the viewers thought.
As am I. So let's go ahead, and before we get into all our topic here, what have you been playing?
Oh, well, let me tell you. As always, I'm stuck here at home with my family, which is fine. I shouldn't say I enjoy it. But this has been a very calm, easy week for me. I have a question for you before I answer that question. Have you played any games on Valentine's Day? Because that was just this last Sunday.
No, I have not. Me and the wife don't really celebrate it, especially since our dating anniversary, I guess you can say, is tomorrow. So we go more
Oh,
for that, and the wife's not really big into Valentine's Day, so.
yeah. I've found that my wife, she celebrates it, and by her celebrating it, I mean she makes me do things for her. And so, I mean, if you weren't aware, 2020 was the year of the lockdown. Most of the country is still locked down mostly. It's easing up, but it's getting better, but it's still very restrictive on what you can do. And I already didn't like taking her out to dinner on Valentine's Day anyway, much less now. Where
Yeah, it's usually nuts on the actual day.
yeah, it's a minimum 2 hour wait, and that's with full capacity seating. I think right now they just opened it up to 25% inside, maybe. Like, there's just so I basically told the wife, I was like, look, I'll do a lot of things for you, but like, I mean, we can't go out, we can't do anything crazy. So I did the dishes for her, which, if
Oh,
you know me,
oh.
ooh, ooh, that's the one chore I like refuse to do. I was like gagging the whole time. How do people do this?
Yeah,
This is
see,
work.
we have an agreement. I I cook, so she cleans the dishes.
Yeah. That see, I need to start doing that. It's
Plus, we
just
have a dishwasher, so it just makes things simpler.
what's their name? No, I
Kenmore, I think.
oh, okay. But so what I've been playing lately is the other night I taught my son a game that I used to play way back in the day when I was younger, and I hadn't played this in quite some time. Mancala. And
It's funny. I
I
like the mechanism. I've never played Mancala.
see, and a lot of people have it, and there's a lot of variations too. So the
Hmm.
way I do it, there's like Kala, Awari, Mancala. There's a bunch of. It's kind of like a deck of playing cards. There's like you're not technically playing cards, you're playing poker or bridge or cribbage or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And so when we play Mancala, I taught him the way where if you end with a marble in your cup, you take another turn from your side, which leads to like all sorts of fun, awesome comboing. The first time we played, he absolutely decimated me. Like not even like he was taking like about 10 section turns like for every one that I did. So I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna do a cool move. I'm gonna drop these two and then drop this one and then get this one. How about that? And he's like, all right, I'm gonna basically move all of my marbles into my cup, legitimately, and then leave you with like two or three left over. It's like what? And he ended the game with like where there was probably about 20 marbles on my cups alone, and those don't count at the end of the game. And so he triggered the end where I had all these like massive filled cups that just no way to score because the game was over and he destroyed me. It, it
Sounds
was
about right.
it was a very proud moment, proud father moment, but that's what I've been playing. I played my collar with my son.
Nice. So the first game on my list, in fact, all the games on my list here were solo games. So, like I said, my wife wasn't really feeling like playing board games, so we mainly just sat and watched movies. But I did get some games to the table to get them off my shelf of shame. The first one I'm going to talk about is Aquatica, and oh my god, I can see why that's a Dice Tower essential. I really dug that game. It's very simple. It's a basically you got a hand of cards. You play the cards, see what happens based on what those cards do. You have a limited amount of actions: scout locations, buy a location, fight for a location, pick up a card, move one of your locations up. This way you can get their powers and stuff like that. So it's all interesting. And so once you get a location fully completed, you have to play a different card to bank that card. That's going to how you're going to score your points at the end of the game, is by banking the cards that you complete. But there's certain things that you have to do to get those cards completed. The people that you end up buying help you work your way through getting these reefs and these locations upgraded. And oh my god, it's phenomenal. I really need to play it more than in solo mode with more than one person. I think it's very well done. It's very well produced. I love the little manta rays that help you. It's phenomenal. I really did enjoy it, and I can't wait to get it back to the table.
Very cool. That sounds like a good fun time. Do you think it's a game I would like?
Oh, I think you would dig the mess out of it, honestly.
Okay. I've had my eye on it, and I've really strongly considered it. So yeah.
I was able to pick it up for $30, so I couldn't pass that opportunity, and I'm glad I did because it's a phenomenal game.
Yeah, that's a really good deal. I picked up a game recently for 35. That's normally a $65 game. So
Yeah, I think it's 50, 60 normally, and I got it for 30, so I'm not too chuffed about that.
no, absolutely not. I've also been playing Quacks of Quedlinburg lately with the wife.
Nice.
Yeah, it's on her 10x10, and I finally convinced her to play it. And it's the first time we played with the geek bits, the updated ones. Oh boy, I can honestly say I can't go back to cardboard drawing that from the bag now.
Well, that's how I feel about Wingspan. Just for the food resources, I can imagine when you're pulling it from the bag.
Oh, it's satisfying. Like when you shake up the bag to mix it up and you hear all the plastic bits clunking around. Oh, so satisfying. You slam it on the table, give it like that nice little poker chip snap. It's like, right there on the table. Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, so satisfying. And the game's pretty fun too. And I must be lucky with the geek bits because this was the first time I ever beat her in that game by 1 point.
They brought you the luck, huh?
Huh?
They brought you the luck, huh?
They brought me the final luck, and now she wanted to do a rematch yesterday. We didn't get around to it, but I am almost positive she would have just wiped the floor with me if we did. So,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed that game so much to the point where I ended up buying Towers of Tefenthal, the spiritual successor to it. So,
You mean the Taverns of Tiefenfall?
Did I say Towers? Taverns of Tiefenthal. Tiefenfall,
I think.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. You mentioned it like, hey, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I got this and this and this going on. I just found out there's going to be another Kickstarter. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, you can't be buying all these games now. Yeah. Yeah, our buddy from, we could give that a shout out too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we know Keith Mateka?
Mateka, yeah.
Mateka, yeah.
He just announced that they're going to be releasing an expansion for Lockup, which I actually find as a phenomenal game. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, agreed. We still need to buy that 2-player, the Dual Powers pretty soon.
Yeah, we do need to try that one.
So what else have you been playing?
So the next game on my list here is an IP. One that was on my shelf of shame. I actually got it, I think, around the same time as Aquatica or maybe just before it. And that's Fallout, the board game. I finally decided to bring it down and bust it out for the solo mechanics. And I'm like, you know what? This is not a bad game. I could see the flaws, like the rule book doesn't, and this for Fantasy Flight game, the rule book's a little vague on how certain things are supposed to work. So it's a bit of an annoyance. But I think it's a really neat game with some interesting mechanisms in it. I really liked it as solo. I can see why people don't like it as competitive, but I really do want to try the cooperative that they added in with one of the expansions, I think. And then there's a little pack that you can buy, I think helps with the expansions. I'm not too sure. But yeah, no, I think it's a good game. I enjoyed it. Mind you, I'm a Fallout fan to begin with. I love the video games, so I figured I may like it, though I do have to say my favorite thing in this game is the dice. I love the fact that they use the VAT system in the dice, and how they incorporated it was phenomenal. I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, that's one of those games. I know nothing about the video game other than I've heard a little bit about it. Never played it though. I'm a huge Skyrim fan, but I'm not a fan of Fallout. But that board game was fun. I would recommend it to.
Another thing I have to mention, though, is the one thing that bothers me is the player boards. The pins don't want to stay in like they're supposed to. So when you're trying to pull out your little pegs for your XP and your health and your rads and stuff like that, sometimes it pulls it apart, and it's annoying that I'm going to have to glue it together.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no.
Because one of the pins and one of the boards does not want to stay.
That's no bueno. Maybe there's a 3D printed version of it.
Maybe, I don't know. I really do enjoy it though. So I do. It's funny. It gives you 5 characters in the box, but it's a 4-player game. So they only give you enough little pins for the 4-player game. So I have one character that doesn't have those pins, so I have to steal it from a character if someone wants to play that one.
Oh, that's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's no bueno.
No, I
Uh,
did really enjoy it. I do have to say, I would recommend it if you're a Fallout fan, if you like dice chucking and stuff like that. It's fine solo. I can, if they had like a campaign book for it, I would totally do it solo.
oh yeah, yeah, I could see you jamming out on that forever. And I would even go as far to say I would recommend it to uh, non Fallout fans, assuming you know Fantasy Flight games and you know kind of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very important factor of it. I do like Fantasy Flight games. Out like I we joke that I'm the non-thematic gamer, and that's fine because I
Yeah.
really don't care about. But I know what to expect from a Fantasy Flight game,
Yeah,
and
no, I
knowing that,
agree. And then they make Fallout Shelter, which is totally different than what Fantasy Flight does.
yeah,
So,
it's totally different.
so I do have to say, this is probably my second favorite Fallout game. I still prefer Fallout Shelter over it.
Yeah, yeah, that I don't blame you. And the last one I've been playing, so it's not. I, I can't say too much details on it, but just know that I can. But I've been playtesting a game that hopefully will be coming soon, but making a lot of exciting changes. I forgot how interesting playtesting is because you take something that you genuinely enjoy, right? And then you play it to the point where you're almost sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet at the same time, you're incredibly excited. It's bizarre, it's strange, and for some reason you look upset, and I don't know why. I'm assuming you lost your sound. So we'll probably do some testing here in a minute to see if that's the case.
It's
But are you able to
my
hear me now?
Bluetooth disconnected from here, and so now I'm hearing you from my main computer rather than through here. And so now I can hear the sound on the the Twitch feed over here.
So everything's delayed. Got it. Okay, that's a little bizarre, but yeah, no, I enjoy playtesting a lot, and it's very interesting trying to solve all these problems. If you like people, or if you're one of those people that like solving problems, game design is actually a really fun hobby to get into. So I highly encourage it. But that's what I've been playing. Game titled blank, which I'm not allowed to disclose.
Interesting. So I got all the issues with my speakers and stuff like that taken care of. So we're good there. But no, it sounds interesting. So again, sorry for that, people.
No, you're fine. And you've played this game before too. You know what I'm playtesting right now, and I'm really focusing and hunkering down on and defining the rules. So
Do I?
it's the big one, the bigger one.
Oh, it's yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't too sure. All I heard was name indistinct, and I'm like,
no, I can't. You know, I like because we'll make announcements when announcements are appropriate. But yeah, it's an interesting idea of playtesting. I think it's bizarre. In one hand, you do like it. One hand, you don't. But
I get it. The one that's under contract. I get it. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I thought it was the other big one
you
that you were going to put up for for people to try. The one based around
I had to
our
put that
area.
one aside. Oh yes, that other big one. Yes.
Yes.
No, I'm still into that idea.
All right, so
they're good fun.
Let's move on. Let's go to my last game here because we got to get this rolling. Right. My final game here is Nations. I finally was able to pull this off, pulled it down, played a solo version of it, and I liked it. I really did. It's got some really interesting card play with some worker placement. It's a civilization game, so you're buying cards to help build your civilization. I really, really did enjoy it. But oh my God, that rulebook sucks. I had to watch Rado's run through to get a better understanding of the game with the Klingon, mind you, with the Klingon subtitles, just for me to understand it. It is a horribly written rulebook. I had a hard time trying to figure it out, but it's really good. I do enjoy it. I need to play it with more people, as with the other two games here. but this really made me want to try Through the Ages. I heard that's like the epitome of a civilization game that you want to play. But I could see this one is if I want to play Through the Ages, which could take about 2 to 3 hours, I can probably play Nations in an hour, hour and a half. It's relatively quick. I got a solo game of it with learning the roles in about 45 minutes to an hour. So I want to see. Yeah. It plays real quickly because you're only doing 2 rounds per age. So you have 4 ages. You're only going to do about 8 rounds. They're scoring on the B part of each age. So you got your antiquity, your medieval, your all that goes from like antiquity to industrial. So you have like 4 ages and 8 rounds basically. And it's real simple. Cards get taken, you put it down, build, buy resources, stuff like that. It's real simple. And I think it's well, but it doesn't. I'd rather play Tapestry over it. I do enjoy it, and I'm glad I own it. I just think Tapestry, and big people gripe about it, it's not like a huge civilization game, and they're right. Tapestry plays faster than this one does somewhat, but I do want to play Through the Ages. I got more of a Civ through Tapestry than Nations itself, because it's basically just card play.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Cool. Yeah, that's another one that's on. I mean, I've played like Nations the Dice game, and I've played Roll Through the Ages, and a lot of these like almost civilization games that I kind of want to get my teeth wet.
Yeah, and I'm tempted to buy Through the Ages. So we'll see. I might pick it up. It just depends. I just bought a new chair for the office, so I don't know. This wasn't cheap.
Well, as your close personal friend that wants to try Through the Ages, I highly encourage you buy it.
Of course you do. Well, I do got to pick up the expansion for Fallout this way I can get the co-op.
Oh, that's a good point. I could buy an expansion to play with your board game. Oh, that's so nice. All right. So let's talk with our audience. We had this really weird idea of a theme that just kind of came to my mind one day. And I said, hey, what would be the best and worst? Or I first said, what would be the best universes to live in? And then you countered with, what would be the worst? Let's do it.
No, the way I countered it was I could tell you the top 4 worst. I don't know if I could figure out the best right now. And literally the top 4 worst were the first 4 things I put down on my list. Because I was kind of wish that. I was just like, oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh, wait, I have more than 4 now.
Right. I was going to say that. I wonder how many honorable mentions you could have had on top of this. I know, like, I was like looking through my board game shelves. I'm like, okay, that's a bad one. Oh, that's a bad one. Ooh, that's a bad one.
Yeah, one right behind you I wouldn't want to live in. And it's an IP one.
Yeah. Yeah, most of that was my cooperative shelf. No.
Exactly.
But some were okay. So the question is, well, when we get to our list, should we start with the worst or the best? We'll figure that out while talking with our viewers. I'm going to give this one a start. Fred, he put 2 of them, and I'm going to read them back to back because I think they're pretty good. And he was our very first responder. He said, Monopoly. Oh, wait. Pandemic. Shoot.
Yes, I'm going to put it out there. Pandemic is not on my list because I'm already living through it, and I know it's the worst.
Yeah, we already know. No, I think my 4 are worse than what we're living through now. It's not good to live what we're living through now, but these are way worse.
Yeah, but see, we know we can't live in that. We are living in pandemic. Sure. That's why it's the worst, because it's something that can actually happen.
Right, exactly. I mean, you hear all these conspiracy theories of people getting mad at Bill Gates for like blaming him like wildly. It's like, where's Matt Leacock in this conversation? Has no one predicted this? Like, why aren't they talking to him?
Oh my God, he made a whole board game about it. How quickly things spread. It's like, come on, man.
Right? Exactly.
All right, so the next one here is from Ryan, and he says, best, Candyland. Worst, Kingdom Death Monster. And get used to that name.
Right. Would you agree with Candyland? I don't know. I'd get pretty sick of all the
I don't know if it would be the best, man. You wouldn't have teeth by the end of the week.
Yeah, and you would be eating stuff that people walk on, or other people have eaten and just didn't finish.
Or
It's like,
sneezed on as they're walking by, and it's like, oh, look at the bush. I don't want to eat that gumdrop now.
It's the Willy Wonka meets Golden Corral. Like, it's just no. Like, I don't. And I like Golden Corral, but no, I don't want to do that. And then
I do like what Carl says under him, or his reply to there. Nah, Candyland means rotten teeth and everybody having terrible, uncontrolled diabetes.
there has to be better, right? Peter, friend of ours, says Happy Little Dinosaurs would be the worst. I have not played it, but
I don't know if I want to.
yeah, not if it's such an optimistic title called Happy Little Dinosaurs being the worst one to live in. I don't know.
All right, and so Marina says worst would be The War Is Mine, and the best would be Everdell. And it says, Jai says here, if you've read the Everdell timeline, not sure it's best. Some bad stuff happens in that world. In The War Is Mine, that's what I was going to mention. I forgot Nathan was talking about is actually something that was happened based off the siege of Sarajevo. It doesn't specifically project what happened there, but yeah, it is based off of that.
Right. Yeah. So that
I think it's based off a comic series on that, if I remember correctly. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it's based off the siege of Sarajevo.
This War of Mine was at least a video game. I know that.
Something like that, yeah.
And John replied, Operation would suck a lot.
I don't know. My one operation wasn't that bad. I got to eat a lot of ice cream.
Well, okay. He went into detail. Let's his description right now. He says, I mean, imagine it. You're spread out on a table and thousands of strangers are poking and prodding your body, and apparently there's no anesthetics because every time someone touches your sides, you scream in pain. It's basically the worst kind of nightmare.
Okay, I give him that. Yeah, no, I get that.
John,
Mike, and Mike says zombie side. Well, yeah, zombies.
David said worst is Kingdom Death Monster, or Kingdom Death. Maybe Chaos in the Old World is a runner-up. Best
Kingdom Death is Kingdom Death Monster.
Huh?
Kingdom Death is Death Monster. Yeah.
Well,
KDM.
No, Kingdom Death Monster is the sequel.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Same world.
Yeah, and he said best is, I don't know, A Wonderful World, Pulsar 2849, Everdell, Transforming Mars.
Terraforming, not transforming.
Transforming Mars, yeah. Same thing. Terraforming Mars, yes, you're
right. Savi says, Agricola, what?
What?
Where's the best?
Huh? I couldn't tell from that. I don't know. What would you consider Agricola? I mean, it's
worst. Any Uwe Rosenberg would be the worst because you got to feed your people.
Because you got to feed your people. That's right. Well, I mean, it's just if you're a natural farmer, I guess any of his would work out. Or if you really like playing Tetris, maybe. Tim, he says the best. Terraforming Mars. I could build my oasis like Elon Musk. Worst, Pandemic Legacy. Who wants to be quarantined and risk catching a global infection? Wait.
Dave says, worst, Ghost Stories. I couldn't agree more on that one. Best, Sushi Go. He likes sushi.
Which Sam replied, even anthropomorphic sushi? Way to ruin the party, Sam. Tom said the best. Lords of Waterdeep, sending minions to perform quests. Worst, any dungeon crawl where you're the guy getting sent into the dungeon.
Yeah, Descent, Imperial Assault, anything of that nature. Yeah. Just because you're living in Faerun doesn't mean you're the guy who gets to send people on adventures. Or worse, you could be some random peasant during the year of the road dragons, or one of the many other years of something awful.
The many years of something awful.
And honestly, I think Lords of Waterdeep would be one of the worst places to live. It wasn't on my list because I'm not a huge fan of the game, but who would want to live through those kind of politics, man?
Yeah.
I thought American politics were bad. They're sending people to deal with dragons over here.
Right? Yeah. Like, oh, they don't have to deal with litigation and, frivolous lawsuits. You know,
All right, so Brandon says best is Underwater Cities or Terraforming Mars, and worst would be Kingdom Death Monster or Tainted Grail. So I have not played a single one of the worst ones, but from what I've looked on those, I would agree.
Alejandro, I strongly disagree with one of his choices, and I'll explain. I don't think I'll need to explain why. I'll let you decide which one I disagree with. He says worst, Warhammer 40k. Best,
That's the one right there.
Calico. No comment.
Well, it would be the worst for me. I'm allergic to cats.
Right? Having your blankets be all covered in cat hair.
See, I don't mind cats. I'm just allergic to them. I like cats.
I'm saying you'd be snuggling up with allergy blankets.
Yeah. Okay, so Michael says the best would be Dinosaur Island or any Star Wars game, and I disagree. I would not want to live in a Star Wars world. I've seen the movies. I know what's going on there. People are fighting and people are dying. No, thank you. As much as I like Star Wars. Worst is Salem 1692 or insert any pandemic joke here.
Yeah. I think everybody all had like the very first idea, like pandemic. Oh, okay, everyone else is gonna say that.
Well, that was gonna be mine. I'm like, there's a reason why it's not on my list. I'm living through it. I'm good.
Right. Chad, he said, oh no, I'm sorry, Russell said this War of Mine would be pretty bad. And best is a bit trickier. Obsession, being a rich English aristocrat, probably could be worse. I've not played Obsession, but yeah.
Chad says worst is definitely Shadows of Brimstone. Your town is getting torn to shreds daily by void storms, plagues of hell beast, and an undying torrent of bank robbers and bandits. Plus, you're mutating constantly. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
No, and on top of that, Chad was so descriptive in that he forgot to say the best. Ryan said, best, in my opinion, is Everdell. It's so lovely. Yeah, Everdell's cool.
Yeah. It's a good game, too. I really enjoy it.
Right.
Thomas says worst would be GMT's Coin Series. Oh, wait.
There we go. Another actual historical reference, right?
Yeah.
E-Dog says Takanoko would be fun to live in. You just get to hang out in a bamboo garden with a panda and a gardener. I could do that.
Not if you're the gardener. He's getting pissed off because the bamboo is being eaten by the pandas.
I'd be concerned living in that world because of the fact that you actively know everything the panda ever ate. There's something odd about this idea. Like you have access to it to complete objectives. What's in his belly?
So Sid says best hands down Lord of the Rings, worst Disney Star Wars.
Ooh, that's a strong jab.
I don't know if I want to live in Lord of the Rings. I've read all the books. Well, not all the books. I've read The Silmarillion, The Hobbit, and then the Lord of the Rings part of it. I haven't read some of the other stuff, but I've looked into the lore. I don't know if I want to live there.
Yeah.
They're constantly fighting.
Right. Should we skip the next one?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. Kate, I don't know if this is best or worst because of the way she says it. Wingspan. Beautiful birds, lots of poop.
Maybe both?
I mean, it would be the best and worst to live in. Not wrong.
But I mean, if you think about it in our world, there's a lot of birds and there's a lot of poops because they're just birds living here. Heck, yeah. I got to watch out for landmines when I walk to my mailbox.
Oh, geez. Right? Landmine.
So Andrew says, worst, Aeon's End. Best, Everdell. So I've never played Aeon's End. I have looked at it and I want to try it. I know our mutual friend Dom, we've mentioned before, has it. So it's something I'm intrigued to try.
Yeah. Gerald says, worst is probably Hate with Kingdom Death Monster being a strong contender. Best, either something high magic with no world level threat, or a sci-fi not set in a war. Maybe one of the Forgotten Realms D&D board games or ISS Vanguard.
I mean, that would be interesting, but Vanguard hasn't come out yet, so I couldn't tell you if that was the best world or not. I barely know anything about it. I didn't back it, but I know someone who has.
Yeah, right. We do know. Yeah, that's right.
Amir says, I don't know about the best, but I think we can all agree that Eldritch Horror would be pretty bad.
Agreed. You should take
Agreed.
this next one.
All right, so Jackie says, I think viticulture would be pretty nice. Betrayal at the House on the Hill or any Cthulhuan themed game would be pretty bad. Now, viticulture was on my short list for one of the best. It did not make my list, but I agree. Viticulture would be a very pleasant game, or probably a very pleasant place to live in. You're just making wine. You're getting people drunk. A fancy drunk.
I mean, heaven and ale could be the same thing, right? You know. Corey says best creature comforts, just chilling with woodland critters, making preserves and quilts and stuff to make a cozy little home to coop up in over winter.
I've looked at this game. I've heard people putting this on the list. I don't know if it's currently kickstarted or just finished kickstarting, but I need to look into it because I everything I've heard about it looks phenomenal. I think I would enjoy it.
Yeah, it does look really fun.
All right, so the next one on the list here is Bill. Worst, hate. Not sure? Go to the YouTube and watch the Hate Kickstarter trailer.
Wow, like straightforward. It's like, no, challenge me to pick a harder one. Jesse says, worst is Meeple Circus. My favorite game in this muggle world, but let's be honest, that's a tiresome life that I'd be stuck in. And best, Dinosaur Island or Celestia. I was about to say Lords of Waterdeep, but I'm too passive to deal with the politics of that world.
I would disagree highly with
Good
Dinosaur
answer.
Island. People are getting eaten in that game.
Well,
yeah,
it's not that bad.
People are getting eaten. It's bad. What if you're one of the people in that world that gets eaten by the dinosaur because they broke out?
You would know it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Natalia says, worst is this war of mine. And they have a friend who actually lived the game in 1991. That's what I was talking about. And the best, Everdell, maybe? So Everdell's a very popular one.
Mm-hmm. And Paul said worst would be Kingdom Death Monster. And that's it for all of ours.
I couldn't disagree with them, really, so...
No. There was a couple here and there that was like, okay, I get you. You know, I see why it is, but I didn't find any outliers in any of those.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah. So
there was a few that I could argue with, but yeah.
Right. Is any of those possibly on your list?
Let's see. 3 of mine have been mentioned.
Take a guess how many of mine have been mentioned.
Absolutely none.
Absolutely none. I wonder why that is.
Because you're a weirdo.
Oh man, then I think I will go second in this list. Which one would you like to talk about first?
Let's go with the worst first, because let's end on a happy note.
Right, and then also let's end on the harder list, because that we took effort to do.
Yeah. All right, so I guess I'll go ahead and start, because as you said, yours are obscure games here. So my number 4 game, and as I take a quick drink of water, is one that wasn't mentioned, but sort of. It has a same theme as another game that was mentioned. I don't know.
Okay.
Should I give you a hint? Huh?
Was it a Cthulhian?
No, it was not a Cthulhian game.
Really? Wow.
It deals with a certain type of apocalypse.
Are you talking Grizzled? No.
No. So that's another thing. Other than one game, I stayed outside of the real world per se.
Yeah, I tried to do the same as well. All of mine are technically fantasy, or not fantasy, but not.
I have some that can scientifically happen, but isn't yet. But we'll talk about that a little later. Right. So my number 4 is a Plaid Hat game that was not mentioned on this list.
Oh, Dead of Winter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're not wrong. I can't believe I didn't think of that. That's really good.
I would not want to live in this universe. And a big part of it is a lot of people consider Dead of Winter the unofficial Walking Dead board game.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live in The Walking Dead either. I've never looked at The Walking Dead and thought, oh, I would love to live there. No way, no how. A zombie apocalypse? I'm a big dude. I ain't outrunning no zombies.
You got to fight your way out at that point.
Yeah, so yeah, Dead of Winter is not somewhere I want to live, especially because you don't just have to worry about the zombies. You got to worry about the other people in your camp and stuff like that. And it just would be so miserable and so depressing. And it's just, no, I'm good. I don't want anything to do with that.
Right. My number 4 was a game from the 80s that was remade, I want to say probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit sooner, by Stronghold Games. And it was originally by like Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley. I forget which one exactly. But
Futuropia?
Huh?
Futuropia?
Nope. No, that wasn't remade. It is Survive, where you are a bunch of people on an island moving very sparingly, trying to get off of the island as it sinks away, while other people are sinking your boats, sending sharks and whales your way, just to be eaten or destroyed or whatever. And on top of that, these people apparently have a hierarchy because only some people are worth more points than others, because they all have a secret point value anywhere from 1 to 6. And like, so some people are more important than the rest. Some you're okay with losing. I don't want to be a low number by chance. There's so many factors in that, where deciding who's going to sink what boats you go on, like where you send the shark that moves around. Oh God, it would be just the worst.
Worst. Does it sound like fun? Nope. Not going to happen.
You've never played Survive, right?
I have never played Survive, no. So the reason why I mentioned Futuretopia is because it looked like something that was created in the 80s, and all Stronghold then got the publishing right. They didn't even change the art for it.
I see what you're doing there, yeah. I don't disagree. No, but this was originally a Milton Bradley or Parker Brothers game. I know I have the original somewhere around here. But I also have the remake too, and I like it because the different levels of island pieces are different thicknesses based on which sink first. So it's really cool.
Okay, that's pretty cool. It does sound neat. I'd be interested in trying it, but we'll see. Yeah. Cool. So the next game on my list here, number 3, is one that has been mentioned. And it's a bit of a cheat because, I mean, come on. It's one of the IPs I was talking about. People mentioned it a lot. And it's actually 2 games, but they're so similar. I just put them both in here. And that's Arkham or Eldritch Horror.
Yep.
I mean, who wants to live in a Cthulhu mythos world? You got cultists, elder gods, demon spawns, aliens from other dimensions. And the most recent thing I could talk about is like the TV show Lovecraft Country. Lovecraft Country from HBO shows it's not a fun place to live. I want nothing to do with it. Mind you, they also showed our actual history when it comes to racism and stuff like that back in the 50s and the 60s. But still, with the Cthulhu's mythos topped on that, no, I don't want to live in that. That especially, the elder gods and the demon spawn, stuff like that. Yeah, fine. The cultists, actual human beings that want to bring forth these things? Nah, I don't want nothing to deal with them.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
That's well, I got you beat with my number 3. And it's a game that I don't think you own, but you and I both play a lot. And a mutual friend of ours plays it a lot too. It's like his favorite app-based game. It's a 1-player game, and living in this world, essentially you're trapped in an incredibly surreal dream state, trying to find the doors to escape while negating the nightmares and traveling this just bizarre universe. It's called Onirim.
Probably one of my favorite app-based games too. It's phenomenal.
It's a fantastic app-based game, and here's the ironic part. I normally play this right before I go to bed. I regularly play it, like while I'm like falling off to sleep, like playing with some cards. I love the game. It's an amazing, phenomenal game. Definitely within my top 100, and it's probably the only solo game that does that. But God, I would not want to live in that continuous like searching. hoping like for these surreal visions to stop. Oh my goodness. No,
Hoping not to get a nightmare, or else all
hoping not
that
to
work
get
you've done is gone.
Yeah, it's quite literally nightmare fuel. That's what I'm saying. It's just no. It doesn't get much worse than that, except for my other two, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about this one, but you're right. The what do they call it? The Oniverse or whatever it's called.
Anything in the Oniverse, yes.
Yeah, none of those sound fun.
I looking at my Oni games, Sylveon, yeah, no, none of them. Castellion, you're battling fires. Like why? Trapped in a
Yeah,
gold
no,
cave.
it just sounds like a nightmare to live in that universe. I'm good. Thank you very much.
Nautilion is probably the nicest. That's not saying much.
No, it's not. All right, so moving on to my number two. These I've already mentioned, or at least one of them earlier in what I've been playing. But and again, it's another IP. It's the other IP I said. Excuse me, that was on this list. And yes, it's a video game, so it has a fleshed out world. But honestly, this works on video game and board game list. Can you guess what it is?
Fallout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Post-nuclear apocalypse with giant radiated bugs such as stingwings and rad scorpions, but then you all have like these giant lizard things, death claws, yaoguais, feral ghouls, human survivors that are like evil factions like the Enclave or the Institute plus raiders. Nah, that's just if I'm gonna to go into nuclear fallout, just kill me. Just get it over with. I don't want to deal with this because Fallout has showed me what the world looks like. And I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. I can agree with you that. Like I said, I haven't played the video game, but I totally believe that. My next one is easily the oldest game on my list, and that easily beats Survive, which was from the 80s. This people joke that we're living in this right now, but we're really not. It's one where with a flip of a card, you can destroy every other player and millions of people involved.
Oh, not even that. You can eliminate someone before the game even starts.
Yes, and that's the only way to win is not to play, and that is Nuclear War. Made in during the height of the Cold War, was when this game was made. Like and it was a satirical take on it, of course.
Yeah, especially it was made during when MAD became a big thing, nuclear assured destruction.
Yep, exactly. And that's the interesting part of it is because when one player is eliminated, their country's population is completely gone. They get to push the button and play all 9 or 10 cards in their hand and destroy everybody or destroy potentially another player. That's huge. Everybody can. This is either a 0 or more winner game. It's really weird. There's times where everybody loses. And, like all seriousness aside, it's a satirical game, so I'm taking a satirical look at it. But knowing that, like there would be all these like people that in a building is like, oh yeah, well 5 million of your people dead, haha, Like,
yeah.
Oh, no way. Like
so your world, your number two causes my number two.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. I was gonna say, like speaking of nuclear, yeah, but there's only one game that I found that I think would be a worse place to live, and we'll talk about that soon.
All right, so moving on to my number one, and it's not a list if I don't throw this on here, but I wouldn't want to live in this world. I find this worse than all the other ones I've talked about. That would be. Can you guess what it is?
Probably. Give me a little bit of hint.
It's my favorite game.
Oh, Gloomhaven. Oh goodness.
Yeah. I would not want to. It's your typical fantasy game, yes, but it's got a twist, upside down, twisted a little bit. I don't want to get into too many spoilers for people who haven't tried it yet, or Jaws of the Lion either. But there's so much going on in this world, whether you're in the city or out in dungeon dwelling, all that kind of stuff. No, bad things happen to good people too many times in this game. And now you got Frosthaven, which is another game coming out in this series where you're basically an outpost in the frozen mountains and more bad stuff are happening where you have to craft your weapons. No, this place would be living misery for me. As much as I love the game, I would not want to live in the world.
Yeah. And Argon V had an amazing comment. Do you want to read this?
One time, many years ago, I had to play a credit card game that literally bored me to tears. I would rather live in a horror game than ever live and play that game again. At least I could see some cool things before I die. Giant monsters over Inua was, I can't never say that word properly. What was the name of that game?
I don't remember the name of it, but I think it was like Money Card, and it was
The MasterCard game. American Express, yeah.
Yeah, the American Express credit card game. I'm sorry, Argon. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Never gonna let that down. I know. I don't blame you. I mean, yeah, that was a traumatizing experience for everybody involved.
Except for you. You were out of the game annoying us with your guitar play.
I know. That's the best part. I lost and had the best time. You know that's a sign when we play a game like that.
No, okay, so going back to this game that she's talking about. Mm-hmm. The thing about it that makes me laugh is that they tried to get out of it by gambling their money away and kept winning.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen anybody as upset as Argon did when she kept winning at a casino at the Monte Carlo and was so mad every time it would come up. It's like, and bet. No!
And the thing is, it's that they were betting everything. They were like all in betting, and they would win, and they would double their money.
Oh my goodness, that just made it. That was awful. All right, so Daniel, I really want you to try and guess this last one. This is technically the only game of mine. I'll give you a little preface. I was originally going to put War with the Evil Power Master, the Choose Your Own Adventure board game, because I think that would be a really bad one. But then I thought of the Evil Power Master, and I thought, what's worse than that? And that's a guy constantly shouting and berating you as you're living in this universe. This ominous presence who's already a hokey actor. This is another game from the 80s.
Is it the Nightmare game that we talked about in Halloween?
That's right. Nightmare. Speaking of a nightmare, that's the one. Because not only are you trying to like aimlessly search around all this, like every tradition of horror movie and terrifying plot is put into it, while a really just obnoxious actor is belittling you, timing you, making it so hopefully everybody loses, while calling you maggots, and just like, even if you could play this, even if it's like once a day, he belittles you and just torments you and breaks you down, that would really break your spirit. I feel. It would almost be worse than trying to gamble away your money and not succeeding.
No. At least you wouldn't be bored to tears.
I mean, I don't think I'd want to be bored to tears. I mean, people, there's a legitimate problem with bullying and stuff. This is ridiculous. This is over the top, and then every time he comes in, a loud thunderclap. Imagine hearing like the earth shake because of that every time. You wouldn't be able to sleep. You'd wake up in cold sweats. You would just you would hear yourself being called maggot every day. Oh no. No, that would be the worst universe to live in. Hands down, make me change my mind. Gauntlet is thrown. And that's Nightmare, the board game.
All right. How about we stop talking about these horror things? Because, man, my heart hurts now.
Yeah, this is going to be upsetting. Now let's talk about something nice and happy and frilly, because these are very different games.
No, they are. These make me happy when I think about them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and none of mine have still been said, but I have my own reasons for doing it. So, do you want to go first this time as well?
Yeah, I'll go first this time. I do have to mention one of these games I don't think I've ever actually mentioned on a list, and it's kind of cool. I do have a cheaty game, though, and this is the one I'm going to talk about right now.
Okay.
because technically you can do this in the universe, but it was mentioned in the other game by the people as well. We weren't sure if it's the worst or the best the way they described it.
Are you thinking Wingspan?
Wingspan.
Sure.
I mean, you get to peacefully watch birds in their natural habitats and go about their lives, enjoying the beauty of nature, seeing them in the marshlands and the forest and stuff like that. Honestly, I can't think of anything more peaceful than that. It's a phenomenal thing. And like I said, it's something that you can do nowadays. Well, not right now because, people locked up in their houses, but just like an hour away from us is the Bosque, I think, that you can go and see natural habitats for birds and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why it's my cheaty pick. I'm not going to go too much about it because if you've been a long time follower of this, I've talked about Wingspan ad nauseum.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mine is the only one where animals are involved, and they're like super cartoony, happy, upbeat animals. By the way, Wingspan is a good choice. I knew you were going to pick it. That's why I don't personally think it'd be a great one, but I mean, it sure wouldn't be a bad world to live in. Mine is a small little card game from Tasty Minstrel Games a number of years ago. And it's a cooperative game about getting all of your animal-based band members to play music together. And it's called
I forget the name of this one.
Yeah, Okie Dokie. It's a wonderful little happy game. The art is beautiful in it. It's
I'll give you that.
Yeah, and it's a fun little puzzle, There's a lot going on in that puzzle that makes it seem, oh, okay, it's not just going to hand it to you, but I imagine like a koala bear or a panda like singing their heart out, dancing along with like big band music. It's adorable. It's everything that I think Teletubbies was trying to be and failed miserably in doing so, causing trauma in children. I've had to watch a lot of Teletubbies with my kids. Anyway.
You have fun with that.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Or Yo Gabba Gabba. That was the kids' rendition of Okie dokie. And it was just fun. But I know thankfully you have not had to watch it. Any of the parents listening to this and know what I'm talking about, my pain. But yeah, highly encourage it. It's a wonderful world to live in.
Sure, I haven't played Okie Dokie in a long time. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was an okay game. I wasn't a huge fan of it when I played it, but it's fine. It's a nice world, and the art is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 3 game doesn't deal with animals per se, but does deal with insects.
You must like insects better than I do.
It's a Bruno Cathala game.
Oh, Micropolis?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This has crossed my mind.
You're an ant living their best life, building a nice ant colony with all the other ants. You're working together to make sure it's got enough fruit in it, make sure the queen's nice and happy. The military doesn't really have to do anything much. They get to go grab land for you and then get to join a new colony if they get a really good land for you, or they get to hang out in the barracks and score you points. So yeah, no, it's a nice little chill, calm land grab, and I think it's a phenomenal game with great art. And yeah, I would love to live in Micropolis. It's much better than having to deal with Cthulhu monsters.
Oh yeah, easily. Good choice. Yeah, I see my copy right over there, and I'm like, yeah, that really does like hit the spot as far as like happiness goes. My number 3, the preface that I'm going to go with, and then you're welcome to guess what it is. I've always grown up loving like Rube Goldberg was one of my favorite just things. Like I loved everything Rube Goldberg, like all of these different things. And it's not Mousetrap before you think it is, but it's a good game, and it's about building a whole bunch of different machines that play off of each other and combo off of each other, and building this effectively giant like culminating machine.
Factory Fun?
No, you're close. This is a Phil Walker Harding game.
Oh, Gizmos.
Gizmos. I would love to live in the world of like just living in that factory. Like I imagine, like you know the sounds in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where it's like all these like toot noises, and horns and bells and whistles and all like I love that. I would totally live in that. I would love to work in there. And then just the fact that how easily you can build a gizmo and a contraption and just see what it does, like that's so creative. I would love to be part of that experience easily.
And if you want to hear more about gizmos, stay tuned and listen to our top 8 debate later on, where
That's
gizmos
right.
is in the top 8 debate.
That's right. Well plug. What about yours? What's your number two?
All right, so my number 2 has been mentioned before, and I think it's a great idea, and I see why the people were agreeing with me on this one. It is. I'll just give you this clue. It deals with science.
I don't remember. I don't remember it.
Terraforming Mars.
That's right. Yeah.
Being able to make an inhabitable planet livable would be such a fun thing to do. I was interested at one point when they were talking about like making these Mars missions and stuff like that, signing up for it because you never know. But it's really cool, and I guess you could say it could be cheaty in a few years because people are trying to go over to Mars and make it habitable. So yeah, I love the science behind the game itself, as well as the science behind the terraforming that they're talking about in the game as well. And I would love to see this happen. It's not going to really happen very well in my lifetime. We might get people on Mars, and there might be people living there, but there's no way you're actually going to make it livable and sustainable with growth in plants. At least I think Hawkins said another 100 years or something like that. And so it'd be intriguing. I want to see it happen. And I think living through that would be amazing. Now, give you the corporations probably would suck working under if you watch any Cyberpunk or play any Cyberpunk games as well. But like tabletop games or the new one that just recently came out. But I mean, Blade Runner talks about corporations taking over. But if they do it smartly, I think the terraforming of Mars itself would be phenomenal.
I mean, it would be just in 3 days, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 days, Perseverance is going to be landing on Mars.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I mean, that's exciting, I can't wait to see what that's about. And that goes to show how exciting something like this space travel can be.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I completely agree. Mine is, I'm going to be surprised if you guessed it, but it totally makes sense. I've been a magician for a number of years. Like not just I conjure, but I practice a lot of sleight of hand, illusions, stuff like that. Shut up. And and I've always enjoyed that. So more often than not in the games that I play, I'm the wizard, right? We as our game group, we always joked about, oh, kill the wizard, kill the wizard first. Well, this game by Prospero Hall turned that on its head and reverse it. Do you know what game I'm talking about?
The wizard always wins?
The wizard always wins. One, because I would always win. But two, it's such a friendly...
Not if we kill the wizard first.
Nope, the wizard always wins. Let me explain why. Because that's the name of the game. In this world, only wizards win. Because the wizard always wins. Need I say more? No, it's a really upbeat idea. You're gathering ingredients. You're taking on different roles of different patrons to help out to eventually become the wizard and win. It's such a silly concept. I think that out of all of the fantasy settings, there was this was easily on top because everything else, when you have normally a fantasy setting, you have a fantastical beast or like a worldly problem that you have to deal with. This is the only one that I've seen where it's like, oh, well, everything's just like hunky-dory as fantasy shows and themes should be, or could be, but this is the only one I've seen that does it. With the exception of, I think, Wizards Wanted. That was a Milton Bradley game. That was
okay,
Mattel game that I struggled between the two, but I picked the Wizard always wins.
Yeah, I never played this, so I can't really tell you if it's a good world or not, but from prior knowledge, kill the wizard first is what we have to do.
Wizard always wins.
So, no surprise here. My number one has been mentioned, and it was probably the number one of the people as well. And can you guess what it was?
Does it have anything to do with the tree behind you?
Possibly.
That's
If
awesome
you
to me.
let's go this way here, and if you see, I have the tree behind me, so that's my number one best, and my one of my worst is back there too, the Fallout Boy. Yes, and my number one is Everdell. Uh, Animals living together to build a thriving city, gathering resources, having a little competition. The expansions add more to the world that makes it a lot more lively. You get to go on like this trip as a rabbit. You have the Pearl Brook, which leads you to using a frog ambassador. And so I think it's just a lovely world. Now, mind you, I haven't read the story like someone else mentioned earlier, so I don't know all about all the bad things, but living under this great tree, building your own little cities, you got your teachers and your classrooms and just an everyday life, but with, animals. So yeah, I enjoy it. I really dig the game, and I think it's a phenomenal world, and hopefully they give you a big box soon because I'm running out of space.
Right? Oh man, there's so many games that would benefit from just a big box expansion. There really are. Um, my last one is one that I feel very strongly would be easily, because that's the whole idea, is you are building essentially a utopian society. You are building essentially factories that are designed to be entirely self-sustaining and building it so robots can can do everything that are actual work, so you could just lounge and relax for the rest of your life. It's basically like Wally meets a board
I was
game.
gonna say, are you saying Wally here?
Well, so you've said this game earlier, joking about Stronghold,
Futuretopia.
Futuropia by Freedom and Freeze. Yeah, I mean that's the whole premise, is that you're trying to build this factory that is entirely self-sustaining, so you could just go slack off. The more people you have slacking off, the more points you have. That's the whole point of the game. And it's such a silly idea because you're making this utopian society by doing so. And it's not like it's hard to do so. You just build robots that automatically do things for you. Easy, hunky dory. So I love that idea. It's so silly, it's fun, and it's about the closest thing to a utopian society in any board game that I have.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this game. I think it's okay. It's fine. It's ugly as sin. Let me tell you. Oh, it's ugly.
But you can't deny that that's not a great theme.
It's a good theme,
Yeah.
but I mean, Fallout does that too. So, but better.
Oh no, Fallout and Futuropia are two very different beasts.
Wally does it better.
Wally does it better. I wouldn't want to live in the Wally, like the deserted planet part of it, of course, but I don't know, living in I get like the idea of you just want to like relax and enjoy yourself, but not like be fed like protein pills and just like be fat and not be able to use your legs and stuff. I don't feel like people would actually become that. But I don't know. We're not going to talk about the logistics of Wally here. Futuropia is the best universe to live in, board game wise.
Mm,
What were some of your honorable mentions that you thought of?
for like best or worst.
Either.
So like I mentioned it earlier, Twilight Imperium was one of my worst. Anything in the role player universe was also my worst because
No.
Lockup just right there. Although cartographers wouldn't be the bad if you were just making the maps themselves, but then you have like the raiding parties of the bugbears and stuff like that. What else was on my short list? I don't have it in front of me, so I can't remember exactly, but some of the better ones, Viticulture was on my short list. There was another one, Pulsar 2049 or whatever it is, where you're just kind of building your own science facilities and stuff like that. Yeah, stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah, some of
Horrified was on my short list of bad.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised honestly you didn't put Horrified on it. I really thought you would have, but I completely agree with you on that. I thought Nyctophobia would be pretty terrible. But some of the better ones, I thought like For Sale would be fun. maybe even Dice Forge. That sounds like a pretty fun time, you know.
Yeah, no, Dice Forge does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a few others that I genuinely thought would be nice. Santa Monica, like that seems like a fun one.
Oh yeah, Santa Monica would be Walking Verano would be another good one to live in.
Yeah,
Western Legends would be a bad one to live in because no, thank you.
the guy who came up with Calico, that did cross my mind. Like no joke, it's like, well, if I just want to be surrounded by pillows all day, darn it, Calico. I disagree with him at the point that I want to disagree with him so bad, but I do. I totally get that. Like if we had Calico without cats, and then it was just like quilts and pillows, I guess patchwork.
Speaking of our top 8 debate, another one that might be talked about in the top 8 debate, which is going to be Vince's Select, so please stay tuned. Or if you're listening to this later on, Wednesday will be its upload. Dragonwood would be one of the worst ones to live in because you're fighting monsters the whole time.
The whole time, there's just a non-stop onslaught of monsters. That's right.
And what do you get to help you? Bucket of spinach.
Yeah, Castle Panic comes to mind as a pretty terrible one too.
Yeah, Munchkin Panic or just Munchkin in general would suck.
Yeah, anything Munchkin, right? Like no matter how silly and fun it would be, it would still be pretty
and
bad.
if we're going with IPs, I would not want to live in the Marvel world. Imagine being an insurance agent in the Marvel world. That would suck.
Well, clearly you're liable. Why? I flew through the building. I had to save somebody. But you're really the cause for the building falling apart. That's where I'm getting at.
Sir, here. Your car isn't covered for being thrown by a giant green monster.
But it has collision coverage. Yes, technically. But if you
see, your car collided with the building, but it was thrown. You weren't driving it.
Right. You need comprehensive for throwing it. That's what we're saying. Oh my goodness. We need to end this. This is silly. We can't wait to hear any more. And if you guys have any more that you would like to add on to the list, you can always join us live and watch us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
You can always find the video re-uploads of these podcasts that we record on Twitch, on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020, as well as the audio versions, which is found on most major podcast platforms. We are still working on iTunes. There is a bit of an issue, but we're trying to get it on there.
And if you ever want to contact us directly, or if you have ideas for future episodes, email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
As well as you can get in contact with us on Twitter under EBG Podcast.
And so always, we want to thank you for tuning in. I've been Danny.
And I've been Daniel.
And thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
Have a good one.